DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of wait for things to happen. And we put all this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book. We got more than one book, but we got one book with this specific title in one show. This daily masterclass, all under one umbrella that is called, let's say it all together, Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic, why you have to lie. Yes, why you have to lie to people. In our lives, we all tell lies, and we are the easiest people to deceive, meaning you looking at yourself, you're the easiest person to deceive. And we lie to each other. We lie to ourselves, other people lie to us, and we accept these lies. And today I'm going to explain to you why this is true, why we lie to each other, why we lie to ourselves, why we allow other people to lie to us every single day, all the time, throughout our lives. And you'll understand what I mean as I get into these points, as usual. Now, before I get into explaining more why I'm even talking about this, and give some context to it, let me remind you I have a text line, or inform you I have a text line. I want you to text me and tell me the most valuable insight you get from today's masterclass, or the most enlightening thing, or the funniest thing, or something that I said that you never thought of before, but it's interesting, and now that you think about it, you know it's true, or something you completely, vehemently disagree with. My number is 305-384-6894. Once again, 305-384-6894. I feel like a radio host. Now, all that being said, the definition of this word lie, to lie, means an intentionally false statement. Well, that's the noun version. Intentionally false statement. Or to lie, the verb, is to give an intentionally false statement. Now, I said from episode 1806 that I was going to talk about this. I told you I was going to talk about why we have to lie to each other, lie to other people in our lives. That was the episode where I said white people ain't our business just a few days ago. You probably remember that episode. And you should also take a look at episode number 1573, where I told you that as a marketer, as a salesperson, and all of us are marketers and salespeople, whether you believe you are or not, is that you want to sell people what they want, but you want to give them what they need. In other words, if you're a personal trainer, you sell people that you're going to help them look beautiful for the beach this summer, and they're going to look excellent in their wedding photos, but that's not the thing that they actually get. What you're going to give them is an hour-long session for 30 sessions spread over the next 90 days, which is going to be very hard. They're going to be doing a ton of burpees, and they're going to be having aching muscles in places they didn't even know they had muscles. There's going to be days they don't even feel like being at the gym. They're going to be thrown up in the trash can. You don't tell them that you're giving them that, because nobody signs up for that. But everybody signs up for six-pack abs. Nobody signs up to actually do the work to get the six-pack abs. So you sell them what they want, but you give them what they need. And that is a seed that I'm planting in your mind for how I'm going to approach today's topic, which is, again, as we get into point number one, why you have to lie to people in life in order to stay afloat amongst other people, in order to get ahead with other people, in order to get along with people. You have to lie to them. You can't tell everybody the truth, and I'll explain to you why. Point number one, we all, as human beings, we want to be deceived. You want to be deceived. I want to be deceived. The person next door to you, we all want to be lied to. Because we all know, when we really think about it, some people have to think a little bit harder than others, but we all know that there is a truth out there in whatever situation, every circumstance. There is a truth to be known. The problem with truth is this, and I've talked about truth a few times on this show, most recently in episode number, I'm missing it right now, episode number, I got so many episodes I talked about truth. Here it is, 1777. The truth is never sexy, aka why not to trust the media anymore. The thing about truth is that it's sloppy. The truth is hard to grasp. The truth is rarely this neat packaged thing that somebody can understand in 280 characters, even though many people have you believe that it is usually not. Since the truth is so sloppy and hard to grasp, you know what human beings want? Because human beings, we all are looking to conserve. We're all trying to conserve energy, whether that means brain energy, physical energy, emotional energy, spiritual energy. We're all looking to conserve energy. This is our wiring as human beings. So we would rather hear something that is easy, simple, and black and white. And the truth is rarely those things. The truth is rarely sexy, like I told you in 1777. How many people do you know? Here's a rhetorical question for you. Or actually, you could text me and answer this question. How many people do you know who keep their opinions flexible? Who keep their point of view on certain aspects of life open to change? How many people do you know who have a certain opinion on something and will come out and publicly say, whether that's amongst their circle of friends or publicly to the world, they happen to be a public figure, and say, you know what, I used to think this way about this situation, but now based on new information, new experiences, and new thoughts, I now think this way. How many people do you know who actually are even capable of making such a statement? How many people do you know will say, I used to think this, but now I think this? You probably don't know too many people who fit that description, even though it sounds pretty simple, right? That when you get new information and when you get new experiences, that you would just change the way you think about things. And doesn't that just make sense? Or what you believed 10 years ago, well, now we got new information from 10 years ago. That information 10 years old, maybe you have a different opinion. What you believed 10 years ago, now you have 10 more years of experience. Maybe you have a different belief now because you've seen different things and you've done different things. Wouldn't that just make sense? And how many people do you know who do it? I told you in episode 734, all right, 1,000 days before, I told you about the truth not being sexy. I told you to keep all your opinions flexible. Every opinion you have should be flexible. Now, your beliefs don't have to be flexible, but your opinions should all be flexible. Every opinion that I have, this is Dre Baldwin speaking, your host. Every opinion I have is subject to change. Every single one of them is flexible. I will change my opinion if someone can present me new information, or can help me see a different perspective, can help me obtain a different point of view, or I just get a different experience that creates new information, new perspectives, or a different point of view. Every opinion I have is flexible. Most people do not have flexible opinions, and don't even get me started on their beliefs. How many people do you know who do? How many people do you know have ever changed their opinion on anything and they told you why? They told you, I used to think this, but now I think this. Do you know anyone? Do you know any single person in your life who has ever said something like that? And since you probably don't know too many, if you do, I bet you can count them on 3 fingers. You can count how many people you know who have done that. Because of this is the first reason why we got a lot of people in life. Because if you tell them the truth, it's either going to A, go over their heads, they won't even notice it. B, they will completely reject it and fight against it and fight against you because you're the one you're the messenger, so they're going to try to shoot the messenger. Or C, they will appear to absorb it, but they will completely reject it and go right back to thinking what they were thinking before. As they say, a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. So they'll feel like you're trying to convince them against their will by giving them some information that flies in the face of the opinion that they showed up with. This is how most people think, in my experience. Maybe I just know the wrong people. I don't think so, though. But you tell me. Let's move on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is why you have to lie to people in life. Number 2, talk a little bit more about this truth thing that I covered in episode 1777, that the truth is rarely sexy. The truth requires critical thinking. It requires the acceptance of the existence of gray areas, not hard black and white things that people throw out there. Again, 280 characters or less. And the truth also requires you to make hard decisions, because the truth in life usually requires you to make a decision that is not going to please somebody or is not going to be perfect no matter what decision you make. The truth requires you to recognize that since it's not a clear black and white at the polarized ends of arguments that a lot of people have, especially in media or in the news these days, I already told you to stay away from both of them. The gray area is somewhere in between the two, where you have to be able to hold multiple conflicting ideas in your mind at the same time, which is a clear sign of a wise, clear thinking individual, is that they can hold 2 conflicting ideas in their mind at once. They can say, you know what, this part over here is wrong, but this side over here who opposes this part, all right, they're also wrong for this. So neither one of them is perfect. Neither one of them is completely innocent. Neither one of them is completely guilty. And you can hold both sides. You can put both sides up to the light and say, well, look, both of y'all have messed up a little bit in this, and you messed up in this, and we can point that out. That's what a clear thinking individual can do. How many people do you know are capable of doing it? In order to do either of these, make these hard decisions and recognize that as a hard decision, accept it as a hard decision, recognize and accept the gray areas in between the polarized points of any opinion, belief, or idea, you have to be a critical thinker. How many critical thinkers do you know? How many people do you know can look at a situation and everyone seems to have a certain opinion, and they can look at it and say, okay, I get that everyone's thinking this way, but here's something that most people are not taking a look at. How about this? And they're willing to stand on it. Again, can you count these? Do you need more than one hand to count the number of people you know who have this ability? Do you know anyone who has this ability? In life, remember our topic here today is why you got a lot of people. If you want to persuade somebody, if you want to influence someone to action, you got to make things easy and simple for them. All right, the more complicated you make things for people, the fewer people are going to understand you. Thusly, the fewer people you'll be able to persuade. This is why a good sales pitch, a good sales presentation, good copywriting on a billboard or a sales page or somebody's website or storefront keeps things really, really simple. It makes things seem really simple, even though we know the truth in life is never really that clean. And this is what I mean. This is why we got a lot of people. Because when you make it seem so simple, you're already telling them a lie by not giving them the whole truth. You got to make things easy and simple in order to persuade and influence people. And the truth is way too messy and requires way too much critical thinking. It requires holding conflicting ideas in mind at one time. And this is a skill that many people just don't have. These are skills, rather, that many people don't have. Again, how many people you know have them? Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is why you have to lie to people in life. Point number 3, many people have preconceived notions about other people, whether they're part of a certain gender, a certain preference on anything, preference on food, preference on location, preference of country, preference of political agenda, preference of any social aspect of anything that's going on, any social conversation that's going on. Many human beings, they say anyone who thinks this way, or anyone who does this thing, or anyone who's from this place, or anyone who looks this way, or anyone who has this gender, or anyone who claims this sex, or anyone who is this religion, they do this thing, they do that thing. We call these prejudices. Some people may call them stereotypes, and some people say, well, they're true, right? Because I've seen it happen. I've known this number of people who did this and this and this. All right, since so many people have these, we all have them on some level. And some people, again, more than others, some people stronger than others, and some people are more willing to stand on these preconceived notions, these prejudgments, these prejudices than others. And some people are more solid in them, meaning they are not willing to change them because they are just completely convinced that anyone who could possibly support this political party must think this way, or anyone who's from this place or looks this way or wears this kind of clothing must be this type of individual. Since many people think this way, and I think you know plenty of people who fit this description. You might not know too many people, the last question I had, but you know many people who fit this description. Actually, you might be one of them. Let's be honest here. Since so many people have these preconceived notions about people, situations, and just life, it's much easier to tell people what they already believe than it is to get a new idea through their heads. I don't know if you ever tried to get a new idea into the mind of somebody who wasn't very open to new ideas, but it's not something you probably don't want to build your business around. You probably want to build your career around getting new ideas into the minds of people. As they say in the marketing world, when you are getting into any industry, you want to find an industry that already has people in there selling stuff and people buying stuff. If you get into an industry that has zero competition, when you put your product out, somebody says, who's your competition? You say, I don't have any competition. There's no competition. This lane is wide open. I'm going to dominate it. There's probably no competition because nobody cares. Nobody's willing to buy in there and nobody's willing to sell in there because there's nothing to sell. There's no money to be made. If there's money to be made in the industry, I promise you there are people already making it. Now, if you happen to be a genius, you happen to be Steve Jobs, Elon Musk level genius, and don't fool yourself. If you happen to be that, maybe you could be the first one into an industry and you could just grab a whole bunch of the money before anybody else does. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that maybe you're not that genius. Maybe I got a whole audience of geniuses. Maybe I do. But if you're not that person, you probably don't want to step into a field where you're creating brand new knowledge and you have to educate everybody about something that they otherwise didn't know about. That takes an exceptional talent to do that. If you happen to not be the exceptional talent, I don't think I'm the exceptional talent. I'd rather ride a wave that already exists. I'll jump on a wave that's already there and I'll do it my own way, but I don't want to create a brand new thing out of zero. That would be a little bit too much work. I'm not sure I'm that talented. So I gotta compensate for that by jumping on the waves that are already going. I find out where people are already surfing, I bring my surfboard. But again, I'm not you, I can't speak for you, but I'm just throwing that information out there. To getting a new idea through people's thick heads takes a lot of work. And it also takes a fertile brain. Again, I'll ask this question again. I'm asking it many times here today. How many people do you know who have a fertile enough brain to where you can give them a new idea? They will be open to it. They will listen to it and say, that's interesting. Let's work on this a little bit more. Let's dig into that a little bit more. Here's some ideas of what we can do with that. How many people do you know who can do that? Now, again, some people know a few more than others, but I would venture to guess that most of the people you know do not fit that description. Maybe you know a lot. Maybe you're a type of person who just has that kind of circle, but most of the people you know do not fit that description. If I'm wrong, you can let me know. Text me and tell me. 305-384-6894. Most people are not open to changing their minds about anything. Now, I already told you that I am not in the business of changing minds. Trying to change people's minds is a bad business. All right, episode 1669, I told you that you are also not in the business of changing minds. All right, that's a very tough job. You don't want to sign up for that one. All right, the skull is the strongest bone in the body. I will try, however, to open minds. I'm not trying to change minds, but I will try to open minds. Change is a personal inside job. A person is going to change. They have to choose to change. So it's much easier to sell people something that they already agree with, even if the thing that you're selling them is not what they need. The thing that you're selling them is not actually going to move them forward the way that they need to be moved forward. It's not going to get them to think the way that they actually need to think, but it's something that they want because they already agree with it. It's much easier to sell that than it is to sell them something new that they are not otherwise open to. Now, if you want to see an example of this, turn on the news. Turn on the media, any media, social media, news media, any kind of media. All people are doing is selling you more of what you already agree with. All right. Any of you who follows social media much, you know that there's every social media platform, whether we're talking Clubhouse, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, they all have this thing called an algorithm. What is the algorithm? The algorithm is a computer program, just a bunch of zeros and ones, that tells the platform, the front-facing part of the platform, what you want to show to user X, user Z, user Y, based on their previous activity and whatever information we already know about them, that will get them to consume more material on our platform, stay on our platform, thus we can make more money, run more ads, and everybody gets richer and lives happily ever after. The whole purpose of the algorithm on a YouTube, on a Google, on a Facebook, or a Twitter is to do what? Show you more of what the algorithm believes based on their formulas that you already agree with. All right, YouTube is not going to show you, if you're looking up a whole bunch of Democrat supporting, liberal leaning, left leaning videos, it's not going to show you anything that is conservative and right leaning because that's going to piss you off. You're not going to want to listen to it. You don't want to hear a conflicting idea. They're going to show you more of the stuff that you already agree with, which takes you deeper and deeper and deeper into the belief that you already have, to the point that you may end up in a bubble. Like I talked about in episode 1626, how to know you're in a bubble and how to get out of it. But the algorithms are designed to do this, to give you more of what you already agree with. The algorithm on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram are not designed to show you something with which you do not agree, because that, again, would piss you off. And most people, when they see something that they don't agree with, you know what they do? They exit stage left. They go away from it. They go the opposite direction so they don't have to deal with it. There's a very small percentage of people who will see something with which they completely disagree and they will engage with it because they want to learn and find out. Most people do not think like this, and therefore the algorithms are smart enough to know, all right, let's not waste our time on that because it won't make much money. It would help educate people, but it won't make a lot of money. It will probably help people stop being so polarized and against each other, but it won't make a lot of money. And listen, we're in the business world. We got to respect the game. The game is the game. So don't be mad at the platforms for doing this because you have contributed to it. You as a user, you've contributed to this. So don't be mad at them. You're the one using it. All right, and me too. All of us are guilty of this. All that being said, recapping today's class is why you have to lie to people in order to get on and get along in life. The definition of lying is to give an intentionally false statement. I told you a couple days ago at 1806 I was going to talk about this, and also episode 1573. To sell in life, you got to sell people what they want, but actually give them what they need. Do not sell people what they need because they won't buy it. Number one, we all want to be deceived. There is a truth to be known, but truth is sloppy, it is hard to grasp, and people want something that is easy, simple, and black and white. It was the exact opposite of truth. How many people do you know who keep their opinions flexible, their point of view on certain aspects of life open to change? How many people do you know will come out and say, I used to think this, but now I think this because I got new information and new experiences? Probably none. Number two, the truth requires critical thinking, acceptance of gray areas, and hard decisions to be made. If you want to persuade people, you have to make things easy and simple for them. The truth in life is too messy. It requires too much critical thinking. It requires people holding conflicting ideas in their mind at once, and most people are incapable of any of those things. And number three, most of us have preconceived notions about people, situations, and life, and it's much easier to tell people what they already believe than it is to get a new idea through their heads. Most people are not open to changing their minds, and I'm not in the business of changing anybody's minds, but I will try to open minds. Change is a personal inside job. If you want to sell something to somebody or persuade them, sell them something they already agree with. This is what the social media algorithms do, and social media platforms make a lot of money. Again, you should just follow the wave because that's where it is right now. If you want to go against this grain and think a little bit differently from other people, then you have to take an extra step and do a little bit of extra work. If you're willing to do that, then you got some opportunities on your hands that other people will not have. But what I'm telling you is when you're trying to persuade the masses, when you're trying to persuade other people, even if you don't know those people, assume that they fit what the algorithms are giving them. Again, the algorithms have already laid the path for you. All this said, send me a text and tell me the most valuable insight you got from today's masterclass. My number is 305-384-6894. Once again, 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre, all